My father looked me in the eyes and said, "You're a burden. You can't live with us anymore." That was my Christmas present, right in the middle of dinner. The next morning, I started packing my bags, and I told myself, I'm not paying another bill for this house. Not the rent, not the electricity, not the water. He wouldn't get another cent from me. "Hi, I'm Luma." One of our coraçãozinhos shared this with me. I changed the names to protect him, but the story, it's his. Every single word, told by him. "Coraçãozinho, pull that blanket over your shoulders. Let's feel this together." Christmas dinner was almost over when Robert, my father, dropped his fork. The sharp sound cut through the low murmur of conversation. He looked directly at me, Ethan, from across the table, his eyes cold, and he said, "You're a burden, and you can't stay here anymore." At first, I thought I'd misheard. What? Here? Now? Diane, my mother, let out that nervous little laugh. You know? The one that tries to brush off the shock, unsure if it's serious or not. But he didn't look away. He just stayed there, motionless, staring at me, waiting. Silence fell over the room, like a heavy shroud. Helena, my younger sister, froze with her fork, halfway to her mouth, her eyes huge, wide, fixed on me, then on her father. Disbelief. I swallowed the piece of ham I'd barely chewed. The taste was gone. I slowly put my fork down on the plate. "What?" My voice came out low, almost a thread. "You heard me," he replied, emotionless. "You've been here too long. You need to leave." I just stood there, frozen, the world spinning a little, trying to process. I was 23. I had a stable job. I could have moved out long ago, a very long time ago. But I stayed. I stayed because they needed me. I paid the electricity bill, the internet, the groceries, almost every week, things they couldn't afford. My father had been unemployed for years, living off his wounded pride and my money. My mother only worked part-time. I wasn't a burden. I was the structure keeping that house from collapsing. I was the reason the lights were still on that Christmas night. And now, just like that, they were kicking me out, like I was trash, useless. My mother finally spoke, her voice trembling. "Robert, maybe we should talk about this later." But my father cut her off sharply. "No, Diane, this is my house. I make the rules, and I'm saying he shouldn't be here anymore." Helena dropped her fork with a soft clink against the plate. She was only 16, and the fear was plain on her face. She looked at our parents as if they were strangers, as if she didn't recognize them. If they could do this to me so easily, what did that mean for her future there? I took a deep breath. Once, twice. I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to give them the satisfaction. If they wanted me to leave, fine. I would. But they were nowhere near ready for the consequences. I leaned back in my chair, an almost defiant gesture in my calmness. "Okay," I said, my voice firm, surprisingly steady. My father straightened up in his chair, a smug glint in his eyes, as if he'd won some battle that only existed in his head. My mother remained uncomfortable, fiddling with her food without eating, but said nothing more. Maybe she was in shock, or maybe she simply didn't care as much as I had always imagined. Oh, coraçãozinho. That possibility hurts more than anger, doesn't it? The indifference from someone you love. I stood up, picked up my own plate, almost untouched, and took it to the sink, without looking back, without giving them the explosive reaction they might have expected. Instead, my gaze met Helena's. She was still there, sitting, tense, confused. I gave her a small, almost imperceptible nod, a silent code between us. She was the only one at that table who still lived in my heart. My father took a sip of his drink, oblivious, as if nothing had happened. My mother went back to pushing the mashed potatoes around her plate. Helena kept looking at me, her lips pressed tight, as if she wanted to scream 1,000 things but couldn't. I didn't stay to finish dinner. I simply walked out of the dining room, in silence. I didn't say another word that night. I went straight to my room, closed the door, and started packing my things, suitcase by suitcase, box by box. I wasn't going to waste time trying to understand why. It was pointless. If they wanted me gone, I would go. But that also meant they would lose everything I paid for, the support that kept that house standing, and I wasn't going to leave a warning note. I packed everything in silence, but I could hear them talking downstairs. My mother's voice, low, hesitant. My father's firm, almost harsh, as if trying to convince her, or maybe himself. I heard snippets. "He's old enough. We'll manage. Should have left a long time ago." An hour later, a light knock on my bedroom door. It was Helena. I opened it, She slipped inside quickly, closing the door behind her. She looked furious, her eyes red, puffy. She'd been crying. "What the hell was that, Ethan?" she whispered, her voice thick with anger and disbelief. "I don't know, Lena," I replied, carefully placing my laptop in my backpack. "But I'm leaving tomorrow." She shook her head, incredulous. "This is crazy. You pay for everything here. They can't even buy food without you." "Not my problem anymore," I said, my voice perhaps a little colder than I intended. Helena bit her lower lip, holding back the tears threatening to spill. "Where are you going?" "I'll figure it out. The truth? I had some money saved. Not much, not what I would have planned if I'd had time, but enough to start. I'd have to find a place quickly, maybe stay with a friend for a while. Not ideal, but I wasn't worried. I would be okay. Them? Number they wouldn't be." Helena hesitated, looked at the suitcases, then back at me. "Can I?" She started but stopped. I knew what she wanted to ask. Her heart wanted to come with me, escape that house too. But she was still in high school, and as much as it hurt to leave her there in that environment, I couldn't take her. Not yet. "You know they'd never allow it, Lena," I said gently. She looked down at the floor, her shoulders slumping. "I know." I finished closing the last suitcase. Helena just stood there, in the middle of the room, as if she didn't want the moment to end, as if she didn't want to leave. Finally, she sighed, a heavy sound in the silence. "They're going to regret this." I managed a small, sad smile. "I know. Straighten your back for me, coraçãozinho. The darkest part is still coming, but we're together." The next morning, I left before they woke up, carried my bags down quietly, loaded everything into the car. I looked at that house one last time. No sadness, no regrets, just relief. An immense, unexpected relief. Then, as I was pulling out of the driveway, I opened my banking app on my phone and removed my name from all the bills. Electricity, internet, water, even Netflix. I paid for everything. Without me, everything would be cut off in less than a month. I smiled, put the car in drive, and left, without looking back. For the next few days, I stayed at my friend James's apartment, a temporary refuge while I looked for a place of my own. His couch was awful. Seriously. And Bob, the dog, wouldn't stop staring at me with those pleading eyes while I tried to sleep. It felt like he knew everything. And his roommate, Travis, a pain, kept asking if I was planning to camp out there forever. But none of that really mattered, because I was free. Finally. Free from paying for a house where nobody wanted me. Free from pretending to respect a man who threw me out like trash on Christmas night. Free from being treated like a walking ATM. For the first time, I was doing something just for me. Coraçãozinho. Are you drinking water? Seriously. This part of the story makes me tense. I need to remind us to take care of ourselves. Go grab a glass. I'll wait a second. Ready? Okay. Let's continue. So, 3 days after I left, my phone started ringing off the hook. At first, I ignored it. 7 missed calls from my mom, Diane. 2 from my dad, Robert, which was shocking. He never called me for anything. And several messages from Helena. I ignored them all. No guilt, no curiosity, until she sent that message. They're freaking out. The power got cut off. I smiled. A slow smile that came from deep down. Did they really think the bills would pay themselves? Christmas magic, maybe? Soon after, another message from her. Dad's furious. He said you did something to the house. Ah, now we were talking. The consequences were knocking on their door. And it was getting interesting. In the days that followed, I held firm in my decision. I ignored every attempt to contact me. My mom didn't stop. Calling, sending long texts, even trying to tag me in stories on social media I didn't even use anymore. And my dad? Well, after those first 2 calls, total silence. Typical. Probably sitting on the couch, waiting for me to come crawling back, begging for forgiveness for being kicked out. His logic never really made sense, but I wasn't going back. Ever. I stayed at James's apartment while I kept looking for my own permanent place. He was a real friend, super chill about it. But Travis? Oh, Travis. He was a test of patience, always asking when I was going to vacate the couch, making nasty jokes about me being homeless, even complaining if I used the kettle to make tea. A total jerk. But, again, none of it really got to me, because I knew it was temporary. My freedom was just around the corner, except, while my life was starting to move forward, theirs seemed to be crumbling in slow motion. And Helena, poor thing, kept sending me the daily chaos updates. She was my only link to that hell. First, the power was cut, then the internet, digital silence. The water took a bit longer to be shut off, but when the taps finally ran dry, My mother completely freaked out. She's desperate, Helena wrote. Said she doesn't know how we're going to shower now. Coraçãozinho. I know. Maybe I should feel sorry, but I couldn't help it. A smile escaped. They kicked me out, called me a burden. And now, living in darkness, without water, without even Netflix to distract them, reality hitting hard. And the cherry on top came with another text from Helena. He lost it. He's breaking things in the living room. The image of my father, Robert, the strong man of the house, yelling like a spoiled child because his magical bills weren't being paid. That gave me a dark kind of pleasure, a satisfaction I didn't even know I was capable of feeling. He said he's going to fix it, Helena continued. But Mom's crying in her room. Of course he said that. My father was a master of pretending he had everything under control, a failure with the posture of a king. Except this time, the imaginary crown had fallen, and there was no one left to pick it up for him. I ignored it all, every message of chaos, every implicit plea for help. I went on with my life, my search, my peace. 2 weeks after that Christmas night, it finally happened. I found a place to live. Nothing fancy. A small furnished apartment, but it was mine. All mine. I used my savings, paid the first month's rent and the deposit. It had a decent couch, a comfortable bed, and most importantly, it was far away from that house, from those memories. The day I moved in, as I was unpacking the last box, my phone buzzed. A message from Helena. I need to get out of here. My heart clenched, tight. I knew she was suffering there, trapped in that chaos that wasn't hers. But I couldn't just go get her. She was still a minor, dependent on them. You know I can't, Lena, I replied, hating every letter. Her reply took a while to come. I know, but I can't take it anymore. And I understood her, living with him, without lights, without water, without internet, with my father yelling like crazy and my mother whimpering in the corners. Pure hell. But, as much as it hurt to think of her there, their problem wasn't mine anymore. I had chosen my freedom, and I needed to hold on to it. Then, a few nights later, in my quiet new apartment, the inevitable happened. It was late. I had just taken a hot shower. Oh, the wonder of running water paid for by myself. And was ready to sleep in my new bed when the phone rang. My mother's number. I rolled my eyes. My stomach twisted a little. I declined the call. Minutes later, a text from Helena. Answer it. I sighed deeply, knew there was no escape, took another breath, and answered. Before I could even say hello, my mother's voice flooded the line, desperate, tearful. Please, come home. I couldn't help it. A short, dry laugh escaped. Number, I replied, my voice firm. We need you. Ethan, I know your father was harsh. She started pleading, her voice choked. But he didn't mean it. He meant exactly what he said, Mom. I cut her off, coldness taking over me. It was armor. You kicked me out. Now deal with the consequences. She started sobbing on the other end. Loud, broken sobs. We can't. The house is falling apart. It's all dark. Sounds like your problem, I repeated, unflinching. She cried even louder. Please, son. I know we were wrong. I know. But please, come back. And right there, coraçãozinho. Right there, I could have faltered. Could have felt pity for the woman who brought me into the world. But I didn't. I remembered every bill I paid, every sacrifice I made, every night I worked late to make sure they had food, every time I silently swallowed my father's contempt. Years supporting that toxic dynamic. And in the end, I was treated like trash, like a burden. Now, it was too late. Number, I repeated for the last time, and I hung up before she could say anything else. I lay down in my bed, in my apartment, in my silence, and slept deeply, for the first time in years, without anyone treating me like a walking ATM. The calls continued for a few more days, my mother begging, Helena asking for help. My father never tried again. And then, finally, Helena sent one last message that changed the game again. He's talking about selling the house. That caught me off guard. I knew my father was useless, a failure in many ways. But selling the house, the only valuable thing they owned, I never imagined he'd actually get to that point, that things were that desperate. Selling? He texted back, incredulous. Yeah, she confirmed. Said he can't do it anymore. Mom freaked out, she's devastated, but he's determined. And that's when I knew. Their castle had crumbled. If he couldn't manipulate someone into paying his bills, he'd just give up everything, throw in the towel. I wanted to feel something for them in that moment. Pity? Sadness? But, coraçãozinho, I swear, all I felt was contempt, a bitter taste in my mouth. I turned off my phone again, tried to sleep, but deep down, a little voice whispered, "The story isn't over yet. There was one final chapter to be written." In the following days, I shut myself off again, ignored all contact attempts, blocked my mother's number. My father remained in his tomb-like silence, and Helena, well, she kept trying to reach me, but I needed space, time, needed to leave all that filth behind and focus on my new life. And my new life was starting to bloom. My small apartment was my sanctuary, peace, quiet. I could finally spend my money on myself. That salary, which used to evaporate paying bills that weren't even mine, was now mine, all mine, and I decided to allow myself things. I treated myself to small luxuries that were unthinkable before, ate out at nice restaurants, the kind I only used to see pictures of, bought new clothes, ones that actually fit, that made me feel good, even joined a gym. The feeling of freedom, oh, coraçãozinho, it's indescribable. It's like taking off lead weights you didn't even know you'd been carrying for so long. But I knew that peace was still fragile, that their story could still splash onto me. And it did. 2 weeks later, when I had almost forgotten about that house, focused on my job, my new routine, I received a message. Unknown number. "I need to talk to you. It's serious." It was Helena. I sighed. Here we go. I knew sooner or later she'd try to pull me back into their drama. But something about the urgency in the message felt different. "What is it?" I typed back. The reply came instantly. "The house is going to be sold. Dad is already negotiating with a buyer." I let out a short, ironic laugh. To me, honestly, it made no difference whether they sold it or not. "So what?" I replied. Her next message sent ice through my veins. "He's selling everything, even your stuff." I froze. Reread it. "My stuff?" "Yes," she confirmed. "Your computer, your TV, even your bed. He said if you didn't want to come back, then you don't need them anymore." I felt heat rise in my body. Not sadness anymore. Anger. Pure. A fury I hadn't felt in a long, long time. That bastard. Kicked me out of the house. Tried to make me feel useless. A burden. And now, he wanted to get rid of my things? The things I bought with my own sweat? As if I never existed? As if everything was rightfully his? Oh no. Not happening. I took a deep breath, controlled the inner voice that wanted to scream. "Send me the buyer's address, Helena." It took a few minutes, but she replied. Gave the name, the contact info. The man was genuinely interested in the whole house, including everything inside, already negotiating the price. I grabbed my car keys and left, without a second thought. The drive to the old house was short, bad memories flooding back at every corner. When I arrived, the scene I saw confirmed everything. There he was, Robert, my father, in the driveway, chatting animatedly with a middle-aged guy, probably the buyer. I didn't think. Anger guided me, got out of the car and walked straight towards them. "Have you lost your mind?" My voice came out sharp with contained fury. My father looked at me, surprised at first to see me there. But soon, his face shifted into that familiar mask of contempt. "Ah, so now you show up. There's nothing left here for you. Go away." The buyer looked between us, clearly uncomfortable. Is there a problem here?" I ignored the man, stepped closer to my father, eye to eye. "You have no right to sell my things." He laughed, a dry, humorless laugh. "I don't. You didn't want anything to do with this house. Abandoned everything, so you don't need anything that was in it. Everything here is mine now. I paid for every single one of those things. The computer, the TV, everything," I yelled, losing my cool for the first time. "You're not selling anything that's mine." He shrugged with cruel cynicism. "If you want your junk back, you can buy it from me." That answer, that damn answer, it lit a fire inside me. I could have just walked away, let it go, bought new things. But it wasn't about the objects. It was about the humiliation, the injustice. That man used me for years, threw me out, and now wanted to profit off what was rightfully mine. Number. He wasn't getting away with it this time. A cold smile touched my lips. "Okay," I said, surprising him with my sudden calm. "Sell the house." My father raised an eyebrow. Clearly didn't expect that. "What?" "Sell it," I repeated, holding the smile. "But when you do, you won't have anywhere to live, right?" He laughed again arrogantly now. "I'll buy an apartment, a better place, without any dead weight." And I smiled even wider, a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "Oh, really? With what money, Dad?" He fell silent, confusion starting to cloud his face. And then, he understood, or started to. He thought he'd grab the cash from the house sale, clear the debts I was no longer paying, and start a new life somewhere else. Nice. Easy. But he had no idea what I had already done. Coraçãozinho. You know that phrase? Revenge is a dish best served cold. Well, I served mine frozen. In the days right after I left, I hadn't just been looking for an apartment. I used everything I knew to get my revenge. Silently, surgically, I contacted the electric company, informed them the house was about to be sold, and that any outstanding debt, and trust me, there was a lot accumulated that he never paid, would have to be settled in full before the property title could be transferred. Did the same with the water company, and with the city about the overdue property taxes. He was about to get a nice chunk of money from selling the house. He was. But now, a good portion of that money, maybe almost all of it, was going straight to the creditors, to cover the mess he created and that I had quietly let pile up after I left. That alone would have been a heavy blow. But I went further. I remembered a crucial detail. The house wasn't just in his name. It was in both of theirs. My mother also had rights to it. And she knew nothing about the sale. He was doing it all behind her back. That's when I contacted her. That call after she begged me to come back. Her first reaction was surprise, of course. You never call me. Just wanted to let you know, Mom, that your husband is selling the house, without telling you. The silence on the other end of the line was so heavy, I could practically hear her breath catch. What do you mean? Selling the house? I explained everything, every detail I knew from Helena, the negotiation with the buyer, his intention to take the money and disappear. She was in shock. Then came the anger, the hurt. He can't do this, he can't. He can, if you let him, I said simply. I knew it. Despite all her passivity, my mother still had some leverage over him, and financial betrayal, that she wouldn't forgive. And I was right. The next day, Helena sent the text I was waiting for. They're fighting. Badly. Mom found out everything. My father tried to defend himself, deny, manipulate, but he had no arguments left. He couldn't sell the house without her consent, and without the money from the sale, he was completely cornered, trapped. And that night, Helena called me. Her voice was a mix of shock and a certain relief. You won't believe this. What is it, Lena? He's moving out. I leaned back on my apartment sofa, satisfied, at peace. Oh, really? Yeah. Mom said if he wants to sell everything so badly, get rid of everything, then he can just leave alone, that she and I will manage. I knew my mother would never have had that courage on her own, but finding out his scheme behind her back, that was the final push, the limit. My father, homeless, penniless, wifeless. Without the son he used and discarded, he had nowhere left to run. Where's he going to live? I asked, genuinely curious. Helena laughed on the other end, a nervous yet liberating laugh. He's calling all the friends he has left, asking for a couch to sleep on. I let out a laugh, loud, long, liberating. It was poetic. For years they made me believe I was the burden, the weight, and now, the only dead weight in that whole story was him. You won, Ethan, Helena said, still laughing. I just did what had to be done, Lena. Are you going to want your stuff back, now that he's not selling it anymore? I thought for a moment, looked around my small apartment. Simple, but mine. Peaceful. The old computer, the TV, the bed. Number, I replied. Leave it all there. I had already started a new life. I didn't need anything from that house. Not the things, not the memories. The only thing I took with me from that Christmas night was the absolute certainty that never again, never, ever again, would I let anyone take advantage of me. Months passed, and Ethan moved on with his life. Without looking back, his small apartment became his sanctuary, his freedom. The money that used to vanish started to grow. He invested in himself, took courses, got a promotion at that same job his father used to mock, saying it wasn't enough to support him alone. Ironic, considering his salary supported him for so long. Now, it wasn't just enough. It allowed him to do everything he never could before. He traveled, went out to see places he never had the chance to visit, because there was always some bill to pay, bought a better car. Nothing overly luxurious, but something comfortable, something truly his. And the best part? Peace. He no longer had to come home to his father grumbling, his mother whimpering about bills, Helena trapped in that toxic environment. Speaking of Helena, she was the only one who truly stayed by his side. They remained close, and he helped her however he could, without letting her fall into the same trap he did. He encouraged her to study, to plan her escape from that house as soon as she could, so she'd never be in the position he was. And their father? Well, after his mom shut the door in his face, he had no choice but to finally face the consequences of his own life. Penniless, friendless. No one wanted to support a lazy, middle-aged man who'd done nothing for anyone. Jobless. The last Ethan heard, he was living temporarily with a distant relative, someone who didn't yet know the real Robert and decided to give him a chance. But Ethan knew how that would end. He was always a burden, and they would soon realize it too. The house where Ethan grew up remained his mother's. She paid off the remaining debts with much effort and managed to stabilize things without anyone sucking everything out of her. Ethan never went back there. There was no reason to. The boy who left that house on Christmas night, carrying his bags and deleting his name from the bills, he never looked back. And no, he didn't regret it. Because in the end, he won. And his father lost everything. It's not a traditionally happy ending, is it, coraçãozinho? But it's an ending that makes sense. A just ending. And sometimes, justice is the best ending we can hope for. I romanticize, yes, and I proudly romanticize even a story like this, because Ethan's strength, the courage to cut ties that only hurt, that's beautiful, even if it was born from pain. Thank you for listening this far, coraçãozinho, for feeling this story with me. If something in it touched you, if you've ever felt like a burden when you were actually the pillar, know that you are not alone, and that you deserve your freedom, your peace, your new beginning. Want to ask me something? Send it on Instagram. I always answer my coraçãozinhos. Now go on. Dream beautiful, okay? And remember, you are never a burden. You are strength, even when you don't realize it.